Hey there. Let's talk about something that can be, a little unsettling if you have a stoma. We're talking about when it changes. It happens. And today, we're going to break down two of the most common changes, prolapse and retraction, so you can really get a handle on what's going on, and most importantly, what you can do.
So if you've looked down and seen your stoma suddenly looking longer or maybe even shorter, it can be pretty jarring, right? It is totally normal to feel worried or confused. But the good news is you are absolutely not alone in this, and these are conditions that doctors and nurses understand really well. Our goal here is to give you clear, simple info so you can feel way more in control.
All right, so here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll talk about the fact that yes, stomas can and do change. Then we'll get into the nitty-gritty of what prolapse and retraction actually are. After that, we'll explore why these things happen, what you can do at home to manage them, and finally, we'll touch on when surgery might be an option. Okay, first things first, and this is super important. You need to know that changes with a stoma are pretty common. This is not because of something you did wrong. Your body is always changing, and your stoma is just a part of that. A whole lot of people with ostomies go through this. So whether your stoma looks like it's pushing out or kind of sinking in, these aren't some new mysteries. These are well-known medical situations. Your stoma care nurse has definitely seen this before, and there are clear, proven ways to handle it, often starting with really simple steps you can take at home. Now let's get really specific about the two main changes you might see. They're basically opposites of each other, and once you get the difference, it's much easier to understand what's next.
Okay, so a stoma prolapse, what is that? It's when your bowel literally pushes itself out through the stoma opening. This makes the stoma look way longer than it used to. It might just be a little bit, or it can be, well, pretty dramatic. It can look startling for sure, but usually the stoma tissue itself is still perfectly healthy and pink. You might be wondering, how common is this really? Well, what's interesting is that it really depends on the type of stoma you have. According to top medical resources, prolapse happens in up to 8% of end stomas. But look at this, it's way more common in loop stomas, showing up in as many as 47% of them. So a huge difference there. Now, retraction is the complete opposite. This is when the stoma, which is supposed to stick out a little, pulls back in. It might sit flat with your skin or even dip a little below the surface. And the real problem with this, it makes getting a good leak-proof seal with your pouch a whole lot trickier. Because if that seal isn't tight, output can get onto your skin, and that can cause some really painful irritation. So managing retraction is all about protecting your skin. So, to boil it all down, here it is side by side. Prolapse, the stoma pushes out. Retraction, the stoma pulls in. One is a challenge of managing a stoma that's too long, the other is a challenge of pouching one that's too short. Simple as that. So the big question is why? Why does this even happen? Well, it's hardly ever just one single thing. Most of the time it has to do with things like your anatomy or pressures inside your belly. Again, it's not about something you did or didn't do.
It's usually a mix of factors. For instance, think about anything that increases the pressure in your abdomen, like a big cough, a sneeze, or lifting something heavy. That pressure can push the bowel out and cause a prolapse. Sometimes the opening in the abdominal muscle is a little too large, which makes it easier for the bowel to slip through. For retraction, things like weight gain can sometimes be a factor, or even just how the stoma was constructed in the first place.
And here's the really good news. For a lot of people, these changes can be managed really well without another surgery. The journey often starts right at home, so let's walk through the first steps you and your healthcare team will probably think about.
So, step one is often just watching and waiting, especially if the change is mild and it's not causing any problems. For retraction, your nurse might have you try a convex pouching system, which has a curved shape that gently presses on the skin to help the stoma pop out a bit. For a prolapse, a special support belt can do wonders to help hold it in and keep it from getting longer.
Okay, now this part is really important. If you have a prolapse, your nurse might show you a safe way to gently guide it back in while you're lying down. But, and this is a big but, if your stoma ever looks dark, purplish, or really pale, or if it feels cool, or if it's super swollen and just won't go back in, you need to call your doctor or stoma nurse right away, no waiting. That could mean its blood supply is in trouble.
Of course, sometimes home care and different products just aren't cutting it. If the prolapse or retraction is causing big problems with pouching or pain or blockages, then it's time to talk about surgery as an option.
When it comes to surgery, surgeons have a couple of main ways to tackle this. The first is a local repair, which is simpler. The surgeon just works right there at the stoma site to fix it. For more complicated or recurring issues, though, they might need to do a full abdominal surgery to go inside and secure everything properly.
And here's something else worth knowing. If your stoma was always meant to be temporary, to let another part of your bowel heal, then sometimes the best fix for a prolapse is just to move forward with the stoma reversal surgery that was already part of the plan.
Look, seeing your body change like this can be stressful. We get it. But just by watching this, you've already taken the biggest, most important step, which is understanding what's going on. Your next step is to have a chat with your stoma care nurse or your surgeon. They are your best partners in this. Remember, this is manageable, and you absolutely do not have to figure it out alone.